This is a Warren Smith video featuring everyone's favorite horse lover, Vaush, lover of horses and goblins, apparently. So, I think Warren will introduce the premise of this, but this is
Warren Smith, our like to dislike ratio will be cooked. ELOL.
yeah, but I don't care. So Vaush comes out looking really bad in this one. I actually have seen this video. I don't remember it very well because I was doing something while I was listening to it. But I do remember Vaush sounding, I don't even know what the word for it would be. Kind of like clueless. I don't know. I used to think Vaush was at least a relatively smart guy. I know. The more you learn. But the longer he talks, the dumber he gets, it seems. And I don't know if he got dumber or if his edifice collapsed. Or I guess in his case, his Oedipus. That guy is wild, honestly. So, yeah, we will see.
Maybe his orifice collapsed.
His orifice collapsed. He got the horse one off of Bad Dragon or something. Yeah. So, all right. So we're gonna see how a philosophy professor, I'm pretty sure, basically just kind of tells Vaush to sit down and shut up. So it's gonna be a good video. Ready? Set.
This is an absolute masterclass. It's one of the best demonstrations of how to dismantle postmodern thinking I've ever seen. Vaush is a predominant left-wing YouTuber. He brings on this professor who he didn't realize he has a PhD in philosophy. He's absolutely outmatched here.
You said all of these views are incoherent. You said there's no coherent concept of gender.
No coherent concept of gender. No coherent concept of what? Hold on. So that's a claim. That's a very bold assertion. Vaush saying there's no coherent concept of gender, so I will show you a coherent concept of gender. Pretty simple. See this box? I made this box. I was bored and mad. A combination fit for unhinged nonsense usually, but I can be shockingly lucid.
That's a nice box.
It is a nice box, and it explains things quite nicely, but it does leave a few things out. So first off, all humans are born into one of these two boxes, like this big box.
Simple, just as God made it.
Yep. This big box, the whole box, that is humanity. And the box is cut in half. On the pink side, you have women. On the blue side, you have not women. So, to define woman, you look at the developmental pathway by which they would accommodate the creation of large gametes. This means eggs. Now, the pathway here is important. Basically, imagine that pathway as a blueprint that your biology follows to develop into a human. So everything in your biology will be to facilitate the production of large gametes if you are a woman. If you are a man, not a woman, it'll be the small gametes. Now, Vaush and people like him...
I love women, probably more than most people.
Pervert.
As a woman lover, I can confirm this box.
Okay, well, Vaush likes to bring up intersex as a category which muddies the binary. The reality is a little bit more simple than that, unfortunately for Vaush. Intersex is not a third sex category, and it is in fact differences in sexual development, or it's a condition, a medical condition. So no one is intersex. There are people with DSDs. They still fit into one of the two boxes. There's no third gamete type, no true hermaphrodism. So all of this is to say sex is a strict binary on every biological, pharmacological, and physiological level. So now that we have that established, we can look at John Money in the case of David Rayner, which is a very tragic thing. Effectively,
woman and not woman, aka men. God made them thus.
Exactly. So with the case of where John Money basically found a set of identical twins. One had a botched circumcision, which led to disfiguration. Tried to raise one of the twin with the botched circumcision as a woman. He desisted at 14, went back to living as a male, and after the trauma accumulated, we'll say he forced logged off. He forced logged off at 38.
Actually, they were twins.
Yeah, one was raised a boy, one was raised a girl.
Money made him do things with his brother.
Yep, and then he used that to try to say that sex and gender are separate, but in the end, he actually proved that they were intrinsic. And the usual counter here is, well, that means that you can't force transition through coercion, which, duh. But also, when we look at that, it makes it kind of really, it brings up a new issue, which is I think it's called, it used to be called Munchausen's by proxy. I think it has a different name now, though. Basically, it's people pretending they have issues, that their kids have issues to get attention.
Disgusting, sadistic man that John Money.
Yep, and his work disproved his own thesis, which I think is the ultimate justice. And so, for the sake of David Rayner, I will firmly fight for reality here. Men and women are fundamentally different. They're actually ontological categories, meaning they are what is. And it is all boiled down to gametes. So when people say, "Oh, you're reducing me down to my genitals," and the obvious response there is, "That's what sex is. Your sex is your function in reproduction." Yeah, it's not hormones. It's not your cultural signifier. It's not your role. Not the expectations. It's literally your biology. Now, when they say gender roles, blah, 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 they change based off the context and the culture. There's not really a unified thing, whatever, whatever. There is significant overlap between every culture and what roles men and women filled. It
isn't even the genitals. It's what's inside them genitals.
Yeah, the pathways by which they develop them and facilitate fertility. That is man and woman. I feel like I've broken this down to an insane degree, so we will continue the video. I'm starting to feel crazy, and that was me getting really tilted at this whole discussion. It's like, oh my goodness, dude, come on.
Is that right? Did I get you right there?
You will not find me a definition of gender that is 100 and all encompassing.
I hate how he said that. Oh, I hate how he said that so much. That phrasing is condescending. My goodness. You'll never find me a 100% blah, blah, blah. My man, you are really pushing for that, like, you can't make it perfect, so we can't communicate properly. It won't fit my outlook, therefore it's not going to work. He accuses people of being bad faith interlocutors. This is him being really, really bad faith.
There are no such that can't be found.
He has no idea what he's getting into. He doesn't know who this guy is, and he quickly finds himself absolutely overwhelmed.
Okay, so then it sounds like your view entails there are no women, because there's no true definition of woman.
No, not at all.
Right?
There are plenty of social constructions that I think have meaning and serve utility, even if there are no...
This goes so badly for him, it has become famous, and it is known today as the trans water debate.
Oh, I love that name for it, by the way. And this is, I want to say this is Vaush's Little Bighorn, his Waterloo. It's where he gets so outmaneuvered that he doesn't even realize how stupid he looks by the end of it. It's radical constructivism taken to its logical conclusion. That is...
Trans water debate is such a good name.
It really is, especially whenever you hear the philosophy professor explain it. So Vaush is going to hold the radical constructivist opinion at the same time as the Marxist material conditions based thing. And so to him, words are what create the object, not the object is being described by the words. So he doesn't really understand how language works. Yeah, it's really, really bad. I don't think I've ever seen him be this stupid before. Like, if he's just digging in his heels to hold an untenable position, he has succeeded at making Custard's Last Stand look like it was a relatively intelligent thing to do.
You will see why. He uses a simple question about H2O to demonstrate how nonsensical this postmodern thinking is.
You gave the example, one of your arguments against the biological definition of woman was that we didn't know about chromosomes many years ago. Well, first of all, I don't think biological sex is defined in terms of chromosomes. But let's just use the example of water. Maybe we could agree that water is H2O.
If he argues against this, okay, actually, I have seen this. I know exactly what he does to argue against this. I want you to kind of watch this. He's going to go into pedantry and be very pedantic about it. He's going to try to get... Uh-oh. Never mind. We will pause for a second. One sec. And we're back. Little man gave me a false alarm. He was getting fussy in his sleep. Anyway, yeah. So you're gonna get to watch Vaush be very, very pedantic, and his position basically boils down to word creates material reality, not word describes material reality. He's going to basically say, well, it's H2O here, but it's aqua here. And that doesn't change the that doesn't change the chemical makeup of water. Hydrogen and oxygen, that is just how it is. And he's like, well, you can call it heavy water and just use water or whatever. And it's like he does such a bad job defining his position and then defending it. Here, the Mott and Bailey fails because the level of the Mott and Bailey, I guess I could explain this. The Mott is words describe reality, and the Bailey is the power of words shapes reality. I think I got that right. I don't know. The Mott is supposed to be the general position, and then the Bailey is supposed to be the extreme position.
Words are just like words, man.
They're supposed to be. Hang on, let me try to rephrase that. So the position he's going to assert first is that words change based on context and location. That's a reasonable position. And then his unreasonable position is that he sneaks in is that because of this, you cannot have set definitions. Therefore, nothing exists independent of observation. Which this whole argument actually falls apart with object permanence, but we'll get to that. All right, let's continue.
That was true even before we knew about chemistry. That was the definition of water before anybody knew anything about chemistry, before we knew about H2O. Back when Aristotle thought water was just an element. Nevertheless, it was H2O. True. I'm sorry?
This isn't true.
That water has not always been H2O?
Yeah, all you have to do is cross the Mexican border. And over
Sorry, I need to brace myself.
there, it's aqua.
We're talking about the physical reality of water. And in Mexico, they would have their own way to articulate that water is H2O, therefore water is H2O.
Right. He's saying the name change is what matters here, and it changes the definition of what water is. But it doesn't matter if the water is in the US or in Mexico. What they call it, it's just a descriptor. So he's saying that he's saying that aqua is different than water because of what it's called. That's the position he's chosen here. And oh man, if it was only that simple. I mean, could you imagine being like having something in Mexico that is basically just lead, real cheap, but then when you cross the border you say it's gold, and now it's gold? Yeah, real smart there, Vaush.
Aqua means water. Aqua is water.
It's a different term.
Actually, it's agua. It's not aqua, right?
And we're referring to terms and definitions.
No, I'm referring to water, the stuff that fills lakes and rivers.
The stuff that fills
about the word water.
Many things fill lakes and rivers.
Word. Oh, yeah. Lots of things fill lakes and rivers. There's sediment and mud and plants and fish.
Words don't create things, you baka.
Yeah. He was referring to a material component. If you claim to be a socialist and you reject material components, how do you reconcile that with material conditions?
Except for God's word.
I mean, that's a different category of thing. The logos is different than communication.
But they don't exist because we call it that.
Yeah. I mean, Vaush just loses here to a basic object permanence test.
They exist, and then we call it things.
Right. You have to have a thing present before you start calling it a thing. Otherwise, the thing, you have no subject to the verb or anything like that. So, object usually comes first, word comes second. It doesn't matter if we call an apple Ringo or whatever Spanish is for apple. It's still an apple. And fundamentally, the language which you call it does not change what the object is. And so he is making an anti-ontological position, which results in this radical constructivism. It's really annoying to deal with guys like Vaush because you can't even pin him on basic words. You have to play around in his domain of relativistic nonsense. And it's like nothing serves a purpose, but always never serves a purpose. And my goodness. So if I was ever to debate
relativism leads to nihilism anyways.
Yeah, true. But if I was to debate Vaush, I would pin him on ontology before we move on to anything. I would just ask him where his categories are, how he defines the categories, what his grounding is, and then we just talk in circles until I knock the foundation out from under his argument. Because you're about to see him do a circular argument against a philosophy professor. Like that's how bad this was.
Do you honestly not know what I mean when I talk about water, or are you just being a little difficult?
I think you made a mistake before you began that argument, which is that you said just because people didn't always know something true. But that can't be the case when we're talking about...
What do we use language for? We use it to actually map onto the fabric of reality. Otherwise, we would not be able to communicate anything real.
Do you not think water is H2O?
But I think we've come up with a term to describe what we refer to as water.
Is he being dense here? Like, I don't... This part bothered me when I saw it the first time. So he's like, we're using words to describe... Yes, duh. It's like hydrogen and oxygen, H2O. We aren't using the colloquial term. We are using the literal chemical definition
I feel like
of water.
He doesn't think objective reality exists.
My word, if objective reality doesn't exist, then if someone were to punch him in the face, he couldn't press charges for assault, like by his own logic. Obviously, he's going to do that, and he should. But, I mean, come on. Really? You're going to tell me objective reality isn't real? Like, nothing is real except for the power of, or whatever. By that logic, like I said, you could punch him in the face, and he couldn't justifiably report you because he doesn't believe it happened. Is not objective. It's like all of his arguments. Oh yeah,
theoretically.
Obviously, it's theoretically. I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying as an example. Another example is he could stub his toe and then he has no right to get angry. Like, this is Christian Science levels of really weird. I mean, like the religion Christian Science, not scientists who are Christian. That's a different category entirely. But yeah, no. So if you're arguing against objective reality, then you have no grounding for anything and nothing exists, because that's the logical conclusion of it. So you're arguing with no one, you're shadowboxing everyone, and the space between your head is empty. This is why Vaush is, I think he's just lost it. He's really, really dumb, and he talks like an intellectual, and it bothers me because he's using these big words like they mean something, but he doesn't believe reality exists, so words don't have any meaning. Talk about incoherent.
There are, of course, other cultures that have had...
I agree with you. We came up with a term to talk about water. That term is water. And we came up with terms...
His chat is so mad at him.
But here's a sentence. Water is H2O. You know what those terms mean. Now think about what idea is expressed by the words. What's the thought that's expressed? We could express it in many different languages. Now think about the thought that's expressed by that sentence. That's true, isn't it? The thought that is expressed by the sentences. Water is H2O.
What do you think?
And it was long before we got here, long before humans got here. Water has always been H2O.
Well, ice, of course, is also H2O.
This is true, but ice is still a state of water. The chemical compound doesn't change. It just goes from being a liquid to a solid. That's an energy thing. Not a definitional change. It doesn't change categories. It's still water. Why are you like this, Vaush?
But water is what we define it as with a state.
Ice is also water. It's not liquid water.
And this is where it gets embarrassing. This is the clip that has gone viral.
You might say it's trans water. A bit of a difference, but fundamentally very similar.
Okay.
Ow. That is... What? A bit of a difference, but fundamentally similar. Based on what? Ice and water have very different properties. One, the density changes. Two, the volume changes. The mass doesn't, sure. The chemical compound doesn't, sure. But like, they serve completely different functions. You can't conduct electricity through ice usually. Like, you have to have a suspension in it. And even then, the suspension doesn't work as well through ice as it does through water. There's also like, typically we use ice to cool things. We still use water for that, sure.
I guess he wants people to freeze the trans folk into a solid state of matter.
I guess. I don't know. Like, the argumentation here makes no sense. Because he's basically saying, yes, since ice is also water, it's just changed states, therefore it is trans. It's like, trans water. You do realize that it goes back to being liquid water once the energy returns to it, right? And if you add more energy, it becomes steam. Welcome to states of matter. Like, the argumentation here doesn't work because they're not separate categories on a chemical level, but they are in a practical level. it, and also water isn't like born hydrogen monoxide and turned into water. In fact, chemically, it's really hard to make water. Now you can separate water from like acids and stuff with titrations, but I don't understand his angle here. Like, I want to be in Vaush's head whenever he says this, just because I don't know what he was thinking. He's like, I'm being clever, and then he didn't realize that he sounded like he replaced his IQ with his shoe size. My goodness.
Are we cooking with tranny chemistry now?
Changes in states of matter are like, it's just rules, but it also is just not what he's saying. It doesn't make sense.
So you're resisting me on the claim that water is H2O. Let me try a different one.
I'm resisting you on definition. I think that we have.
I'm not prescribing
it's
any
not
definitions, I'm just saying-
prescriptive. It's not prescriptive. Does he even understand the is-ought distinction? He's not saying water ought to be H2O. He's saying water is H2O. To say it's prescriptive means you want it. That's a normative claim. You want it to be that way. You don't want.
He's describing.
Yeah, well, it's like, yes, I am prescribing that water is H2O. That's not prescriptive, man. You're not saying water ought be H2O. You're saying water is H2O. That's an objective claim. It's descriptive. And he's saying he's rejecting prescriptive definitionalism. So, like, wow terms there, man. Like, good grief. It's like, he might as well have just said, hey, I don't want you pigeonholing what words mean. But no. Like, okay. Water is
That's
two
like saying
hydrogens.
Cain killed his brother and Vaush replying, I don't like that you're telling people to kill their brothers.
Right. It's like he's claiming he's being prescriptive when in reality he's being descriptive. I'm not telling you that water should be H2O. I'm saying it is. And the fact you're fighting me on this is really, really stupid. And he's saying, well, I guess I'm going to try to steelman him here for a second, but yeah, I'm struggling. Let's say he's trying specifically to say that you can't have any 100% set definitions to describe something universally. Sure, but that's like a category error. You're saying that descriptive shorthand versus total accuracy, which, oh boy, if I have to add 80 qualifiers to a phrase before I say it, I'm going to get mad. I just want to be able to explain my point in as few words as possible. So he's making an appeal to the verbose, I guess. It's not a logical point. So I don't know. I'm a little confused why he's fighting here so hard against defining water as two hydrogens and an oxygen in a covalent bond in one of the most stable chemical compounds on the planet. But sure, Vaush, why not?
Water is H2O, true or false? And it sounds like you're reluctant to say true.
No, I agree. I agree that water, and we refer to H2O as water colloquially. Yeah, of course, I'm fine with that.
So water is H2O,
yeah.
And it was H2O long before humans came along.
But water wasn't a concept.
The concept doesn't matter. He's saying chemically this has always been the case, independent of human observation. Things can exist independent of you. This is called object permanence. It's something babies learn. Apparently cats don't, but babies do.
I know, but nevertheless, water was there.
Even before the word molecule was invented, molecules existed.
Actually, water's never been a concept. Water's always been a molecule.
Well,
we have a concept of water, but the concept is not itself water.
Vaush is just talking about language, the social construct of language. This professor is talking about the fabric of reality.
Yeah, Vaush is trapped on the language layer. This guy's talking ontology.
Why does the left have issues with object permanence?
I have no idea. I think it's due to how constructivism works in critical theory. It kind of wants to teach you that, yeah, objective reality is oppression, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if objective reality is oppression, then I'm so sorry. You have such a strong external causal loci that you can't process the fact that maybe some things exist outside of you. But then, okay, so here's another one that's funny. Vaush is saying that these systems exist. He's saying these systems exist, right? And that, oh yes, these systems cause harm, blah, 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 blah. Well, no, they don't, because I disagree. And since my observation is equally as valid as yours, then the logic he has doesn't stand here, because I can just say nope, and that invalidates his own argument by his own logic, and then he doesn't see that.
Literally, it becomes preference.
Yeah, and what's worse is that he doesn't see it, because he'll still make objective claims, but reject objective definitions. It's so weird.
Then it's about force doctrine.
Well, yeah, and then it's just who is stronger, me or you? But that's all negotiations and preference. Well, that's just how it goes.
And postmodernists just dismiss the fabric of reality entirely, as you're seeing here.
These are socially constructed. After all, you just said it's still fundamentally water, but
Did he just? I forgot he did this. The concept of water is socially constructed? Does he mean like the word we use to communicate what water is? Because water has been around longer than humans. What is he talking about? Like, oh my goodness, I really want my chance to debate Vaush. One day, maybe. One day. But man, this is like the level of pseudo-intellectualism going into this with the radical constructivist position invalidates his entire worldview, because nothing has to make sense. You don't have to ground anything in anything else. There is no ontology. It's all epistemology and rhetoric, which means we can think about why we hold positions, but we can't ground why we hold positions in reality. So what do we ground it in? The vibe? It's like, I hold this position because it feels good to hold this position. That's a terrible reason to have any policy prescriptions or to make any normative claim, because it feels good. That's hedonism, man. And that never ends well.
we're talking about a different molecular shape. Now, that's because you've arbitrarily branched these two within a category because there's a relationship in them. But that's a social.
Does he not believe in descriptive terms? Because that's what he's arguing against. He's saying, yes, material reality, H2O, water, yes. But now you've conflated the two. Somehow this philosophy professor has conflated water and H2O. Apparently that's a conflation. It's arbitrary. I'm programmed for a lot, but this level of mental gymnastics is exhausting for me. My word. Gold medal Olympic mental gymnast over here.
Social phenomena.
Mhm.
The universe doesn't give a shit whether you refer to heavy water as water or some other, molecule entirely.
Is this a backpedal? I genuinely don't know. It feels like a backpedal, but also not quite. It's like a concession on a minor point to sort of force in his position. Also, Vaush's ear right here. This has been bothering me this whole time. I don't know what happened there, dude, but I hope you see a doctor, because that doesn't look good. Oh man. So are we talking about a backpedal, or are you what
Yeah,
is
that looks infected.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what his angle is here, because it's not tracking to me.
Utterly indifferent to your perception of reality.
Yes, that's how objective works.
That is the entire point here. Your categorizations or definitions, they're going to either be valid or invalid.
A lot of people, when it comes down to definitional games, they start doing this, well, these things are these things. And we have a lot of power over that.
Sorry to interrupt Warren here, but that's there is no truth but power, I guess, argument. He's saying we have power over the definitions that describe reality. If that were true, then things could not be untrue, which means that everything that is said by a human based on observation is immediately true. So that means that means Penn and Teller are actual magicians. They can do real magic.
I want to call water lava today. That is what I will call it.
Yeah. Or if I say the floor
Therefore,
is
it
lava, floor is lava. What is this? What is this position? The fact that he's either got to be trolling here or digging his heels into his position to not look stupid or whatever, this ego defense, it's got to be something like that, because there's no way he actually believes this, right? We have a lot of power over definitions. Yeah, if you're talking about forced linguistic drift, which is something that the left specializes in, like gender and sex are intrinsic. This has been proven many times over. We also have seen that a lot of the studies used to prove that, yes, you can have a trans brain and all that, they have been p-hacked. The p-hacking there is so bad. And then you have the CAS study that actually undermines a lot of those other claims too, which means there's really not a lot of ground for him left to stand on. At least I don't think so. Not at this point. He's losing his philosophical footing quite badly here.
That is very revealing. We can arbitrarily change the language that we use to map onto the fabric of objective truth. And it's just a game of power. I mean, that's pretty much postmodernism in a nutshell right there.
How do we feel about the claim that gold is atomic number 79? Would you agree with that, or are you skeptical of that too?
I think that's how we refer to it as, sure.
If you suffer from bloating or gut health, you probably know the drill. You try and
Yeah, I'm
eat
gonna
healthy,
let him
avoid
have this
processed
ad.
foods. Sometimes that doesn't work. Recently, I learned about colostrum, the very first milk that babies receive from their mothers, known as liquid gold, packed with proteins, natural growth factors, and antimicrobial peptides that work in harmony to enhance your immune response and reduce inflammation, while also repairing and balancing your gut lining and reducing bloating. Today's sponsor, Cowboy Colostrum, offers the very highest quality bovine, that's cow colostrum, in the U.S. Cowboy Colostrum is 100% made in America from 100% American grass-fed cows. Unlike other colostrum brands, Cowboy Colostrum is sourced from the first milking of
Why
U.S.
does it look like
grass-fed
that cow has
cows.
a zip?
Cowboy Colostrum only collects the surplus colostrum after baby calves have had their fill. And they don't overprocess or strip the colostrum like other brands do, leaving it whole, full fat, and high protein for ultimate nutrient density, making it the highest quality bovine colostrum you
Honestly,
can buy.
it's
Easy to
amazing how
drink,
many
made from
studies were made or
high-quality natural
discarded due to
ingredients.
the
Add
aggressive
3
and woke
scoops,
mob.
whether it's the chocolate,
Academia has
Madagascar
been
vanilla, or
ideologically
strawberry,
captured.
which is made
It
with
really
organic
has.
freeze-dried strawberries. You just take that and add it into your coffee or smoothie and you're set. Cowboy Colostrum's ingredients will make your skin and hair feel amazing. For a limited time, listeners will get 25%
That was
off
so
their entire
half-hearted.
order. Just head to cowboycolostrum.com/Warren and use code Warren at checkout.
He probably
That's
said great, and the
25% off
sponsor was
when
like, "Could you
use
say
code
amazing
Warren at
instead?" Made him cut that in.
cowboycolostrum.com/Warren. Tell them that you heard about it here.
So gold has been around for a long time, long before the word gold came on the scene. Gold predates the word gold.
If we had created another definition to say gold, and the term gold referred to a collection of elements, so let's say gold and lead, and the term gold referred to both, that definition would be as true as the we use today for gold.
No, it would be a different category. Like, the word doesn't matter. It's the fact that the material exists as it is. So if he's saying that we had never isolated gold, and then we had a word that meant like gold and lead, and we just called that gold, that wouldn't be gold. That would just that would be whatever word he's using in that. What kind of linguistic nonsense is this? That's like the power of rhetoric can alter reality.
I would say it's a different word at that point
It is, because it's not serving the same purpose.
because they're definitionally not the same.
Yeah, because when we say gold, we're referring to the metal, right? 99% of the time, when we say something is gold, that's a metaphor, meaning highly valuable. But gold, in isolation, describes the metal. So I don't understand what Vaush is saying here. It doesn't really track onto reality. So it's like, if we had used this word to mean something else at that time, well, then it would be something else. The word doesn't matter. The material is what exists.
It's difficult to believe this is real. He's trying so hard to avoid contending with this.
We
Yep.
invented those distinctions. We
invented
saw
the terms.
the terms,
Yes.
because the distinctions are only meaningful when we notice them. The universe doesn't.
Huh?
As a linguist, this comes up. Aoi in Japanese can mean both blue and a green light, even though they have the color Midori for green.
Midori for green, yeah. Aoi for blue, but it could also mean like, but that's, the context is what determines that, though. People know what you're talking about based on what you're looking at, or like an example you give. Like if you say Aoi and point at the sky, they're going to understand blue. But if you say Midori, well, that's just green.
But it's because the context of the word's creation is definitionally different than how we do it in English.
Right, but it doesn't change how the descriptive nature of it works. But again, he's arguing linguistics here when the philosophy professor is doing everything in his power to move it into objective definitions. Right. It doesn't change anything. So I'm a little lost on what Vaush is doing here, because this postmodern deconstructive nonsense and then pure constructivism, it all clashes, because he claims to be a socialist, right? Which is built on Marx, which contends with material conditions. Material conditions determine the context by which people act and operate, but if nothing is real, if you don't have clean
So I would
definitions,
argue that Aoi isn't the same blue as our blue because they're definitionally different.
right. But still, what I was saying is, oh, you threw off my train of thought. Lost track of what I was saying. Anyway, this deconstructive nonsense. Oh, I remember now. He was you got the mutually exclusive facts of material conditions versus objective definitions. If you have no objective definitions, you cannot define the material conditions. There we go. Those are mutually exclusive. Pick one button, press it. You could be a socialist that believes material conditions, or you can be a radical constructivist and say that words are all power and nothing else. There you go. I remember now.
Care whether or not we think about noble gases versus other stuff. We
But
just saw those differences, and we're like,
so we saw the differences. The differences were there. The differences are real. And then we came along and decided, you know what, we're going to name these differences. We're going to assign some names to these different elements.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm trying to remember why we started down this rabbit hole.
It's similar to mathematics.
That was
a
such a
mathematician
filibuster.
does not invent a mathematical theory. He's making an observation of the fabric of reality and making it possible to articulate, then enters knowledge and allows other mathematicians to come along and build upon that theory.
So I was just disagreeing with that point about how definitions work. I don't think definitions properly understood are linguistic entities. I think there are facts out there in the world.
So you can't make these objective arguments about terms. Terms may refer to the facts of the.
You heard it here first, folks. Words can't be objective. There is no descriptive language. Does he realize that's what he's saying? He granted objective reality can exist, but then he won't say that we can use language to communicate objective reality because words can change. Really? Really? Because that undermines any discussion that you have in real time. So if you talk to anyone in the present and they try to use any words to communicate with you, and Lord forbid you get lost in the conversation, it doesn't matter because maybe the word means something else in 10 minutes.
Concepts exist outside the self and outside of words. We use words to vocabularize these concepts.
Yeah, it's not that complicated even. We use words to describe things. Sometimes the word changes to describe different things. How long have we used water to describe the chemical compound H2O? Probably since before we knew what hydrogen was. This is like, yeah.
It's a chicken and the egg problem, except there is one correct answer, and Vaush is picking the wrong answer.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Still, I get a headache when I have to deal with Vaush's content because he projects hard. He calls everyone else bad faith, but then he refuses to engage on an objective point, claiming that no words can be objective because the definitions are different or context changes things. It's like, you can have an objective state that you can describe using words. Learn philosophy. Learn what ontology is.
Why do we say we discover anything if we create things through our words?
Yeah, that's another thing, is like assigned at birth for sex, right? He says, yes, the doctor observes the gonad, and that is what is used to assign the sex at birth. That's really, really dumb because your sex is not determined at birth, at conception. The second that you become a separate genetic code, that is when your sex is determined. Long before you are born and before anyone can observe it. The example I have, or the thought experiment, I guess, is you have a delivery room, right? The mother is giving birth to a male child, but the world ends right before the doctor can look at anything or write anything down. Is the child still male? The obvious answer is yes. Yes, it is. So this assigned at birth thing doesn't track onto reality because it's an independent factor. It doesn't matter if you want what you want to happen. It's not normative. It's not prescriptive. It's descriptive. And that saying that you were assigned a sex at birth implies that the doctor picked something out off the shelf and gave it to you. He didn't. He just wrote down what he saw. Descriptive language. All right. Vaush is giving me a headache now. Moving on.
But we draw the borders.
Yes, but we can test the terms to see if they are valid, whether or not they accurately map on to reality or not. That's what science.
Sex at birth is just a redundant statement. My sex at birth is my sex, and it was my sex 9 months before, and it will continue to be even centuries after. You can tell people's sex by their bones.
Yep, that's true. Yep, skeletal structure differences and stuff like that. What gets me about this whole argument is that he makes it sound like we can just make up words to describe things, but also use existing words to do that. So if I were to call an axe a shovel, he would have to consider that valid. That's how dumb this is. Well, no, axes are not shovels, but I could use a shovel as an axe. I just have to sharpen the shovel. It's like, well, but it's describing different tools, man. It's
The
such
purpose, of course, is to erode the definition.
yeah, and that's the goal, which also puts it into another really, really stupid category of I don't think it's fallacy. I can't remember what it's called. Oh man, I am drawing a blank. It's probably because I haven't slept. Thinking of it like this, if the
And
word
the reason it's the goal is because they don't want to be categorized as something they don't like.
right, they also want to reject teleology. That's what I was
And
going
so
for.
they try to kill the category.
Yeah, it's rejection of teleos by attacking the ontology. Teleos refers to the purpose of an object, the essence of what something is. So the fact that you can have like an ontological category means that you have to have a teleological understanding of what that category is. So if you don't have that, then you're unmoored again. An unmoored ideology drifts into just preference. So yeah.
Is how do you evolve a theory without disproving it? How do you disprove a theory without it anchoring to objective truth?
What exactly is wrong with the definition that women are adult human females? You believe in adults, you believe in humans, and you believe in females. Is it just you think there are counterexamples to this definition? Is that the problem?
My belief in the value of a definition, it should be said first,
Then
is
with
not determined
preferences
by
only
its
comes
consistency.
force doctrine.
Yep. Might makes right in those cases. Whoever's the strongest is the one granting the ability to do things, the permissions, so to speak. Yeah, you're at the mercy of the strongest whenever you have nothing but preference. That is an observed. That's a descriptive claim, not a prescriptive.
There are consistent definitions that are still morally wrong.
According to Vaush, it all comes down to, well, the morality. Well, okay, how do you define morality?
Hang on, I missed what Vaush said.
Consistency. There are consistent definitions that are still morally wrong.
Morally wrong? What is a morally wrong definition of woman? What is a morally right definition of woman? Based on what moral framework? Are we talking strictly about harm reduction? Because that's going to get me into a different category of discussion altogether, which is
My question is, why is it morally wrong to define a woman? Wouldn't anyone who wants to be one disagree with that? Is he siding only with the non-binaries?
I don't know, because the self-ID part of this, right, it doesn't really track onto reality. So remember, the definition of, at least from a biological standpoint, for woman is the producer of the large gamete egg, female of the species. We've established that sex and gender are intrinsic. I mean, anthropology alone kind of proves this, even though they tried to disprove this. Sociology is being forced to confront it. Evolutionary psychology has said this for a long time. These are not separable. It's based off of physiological traits that have affected how humans adapted to their environment based on one giving birth and one doing the insemination. So the argument that Vaush has here just kind of falls apart in his hands because there's no moral definitions here. This is just kind of how it is. So, and besides that, the moral framework he uses, if he's talking strictly about harm reduction, that is kind of shown to lead straight to hedonism. That's the logical conclusion of it. If your singular moral goal is to reduce harm, then you're going to get hedonism. At the same time, by using that same standard, you are causing more harm by not offshoring. What's it called whenever you have not delegating? It's like when you hire a foreign worker to do something else. Oh man, I can't remember the term. Basically, you're forcing everyone else to carry the cognitive dissonance of the person claiming to be trans. Oh boy, that might have been too long for the TTS, but I think I see what you're saying. It's strange. It's like instead of changing their idea of men, they instead try to make women more manly by reducing its definition. They take the most difficult route possible and push it onto others instead of looking inward and coming terms with the word they don't like. Yeah, yeah. It's because it's easier. It's easier to offshore or to offload the emotional strain onto other people because it's about forcing the norm group to conform to the exception group, and then you're basically forcing them to carry the cognitive dissonance instead of you. So it's a I don't need to change, society does mindset.
I don't think introspection is as difficult as they think it is.
It's not. It's actually really easy. I mean, it's hard if you're afraid of what you'll find. But so going back to the harm reduction principle here, which I'm just assuming that's Vaush's position, says morals are based off of harm reduction, which is, I mean, that's like baby's first form of morality, I guess. Make things hurt less. Yay. So how do we make things hurt less? By making everyone else around me hurt more. Okay. So we have to overcome the cognitive dissonance for you, so you don't have to deal with it. And we're forced to reconcile the words we're using against the reality of what we understand. That's really, really dumb. It's also just, it's very self-centered. Yeah.
We have to make ourselves cognitively dissonant so that way you can be comfortable in your own psychopathy.
Yeah. I mean, imagine if we had to treat every schizophrenic's delusion as real. It's the same kind of thing. Anyway.
According to Vaush, it all comes down to, well, the morality. Okay, how do you define morality?
Okay, can you tell me what the definition is that you defend?
Sure. I think that woman, like the concept of woman, is an arbitrary and vague collection of aesthetics, values, roles.
He just called woman aesthetic. He's the reason we get body type 1, body type 2 in video games now. People like him.
He's giving woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's aesthetic.
It's not about aesthetics or even role filling. Oh my goodness. The roles have changed. They change culturally. They drift over time. This is actually proven as well, but there's significant historical overlap between every civilization and what women did. Same with men. This is not like to say every civilization had identical roles for both, but there was overlap. Significant
Women's
overlap.
aesthetics has changed over time.
All aesthetics change over time. We have different periods of art and artistry.
Like, seriously, tomboys were a thing. Now, boss babes, dumb blondes.
Yeah, yeah.
Grad wives.
Yeah, the aesthetics change constantly, but that's not the point we're making. There is a certain function that women fill that men can't, and that involves the production of the large gamete. So if you are a man, you will never produce the large gamete. That is what defines a woman, like on a biological level. Now, there is evolutionary psychology that points to hardwired behaviors based on these roles. Have you ever wondered why women's happiness index dropped precipitously when they were allowed to get full employment?
The purpose of calling them a woman isn't to give a woman aesthetic to a woman. It's to describe what their gametes are.
Yep. And from there, you go into social roles based off those gametes because that changes how you interact with society. Your role in society changes based on what you can produce. If you can produce children, you now have responsibilities to take care of yourself in a way that makes sure that you don't get like chewed up and spit out by the dating scene, for example. You need to be discerning with the men that you encounter. So, hedonism bad. That's my take. Don't be a hedonist.
A bunch of social constructions that are typically tied to sex.
You're talking about fashion. You're not talking about science.
That just sort of float in the just. They vary depending on where you are. What a woman is expected to be in the Bible Belt South is very different from what they're expected to be in like Seattle or whatever.
Hold on a second.
I would ask them, hey, Vaush, is a woman expected typically to be able to give birth? Like, is that not an intrinsic function of being a woman? He says, what about infertile ladies? Yeah, hold on. When you talk about women who are infertile, it does make them less of a woman. They still follow the same developmental pathway to produce the large gamete.
It's definitely true.
Yeah, it's about the pathway in which your body is made to produce the gametes. If you're following the blueprint to make small gametes, you're male. If you're following the blueprint to make large gametes, you're female. This is based off of DNA and a lot of other things, but the point remains. The DSDs, the intersex kind of things, they do not factor into that. They are not a third sex category. They are differences in sexual differences or I prefer differences because the other word's harder for me to say, especially fast. But yeah, that's differences in sexual development. Intersex is not a thing. It will never be a thing. To make it a part of your identity is frankly harmful to everyone that has DSD. So it's because they're very serious medical conditions. They need doctors to attend to them. And it actually proves the binary because they still follow the same developmental pathways. And gender being tied to sex directly means that regardless of the function of whatever tertiary or productivity, job place, or social role expectations, the primary role is, was, and always will be reproduction. This is what makes a man and a woman a woman. Everything else is tertiary at best. And the behaviors that we evolved around reproduction are what are kind of hard-coded in. This is why a lot of women are unhappy when they don't have children. It's like stay-at-home moms were the happiest, working moms second happiest, both the single moms third, and then girl bosses last. Like, this is how it's always been. The technology doesn't change the function of women. Okay, that's where I'm at. Now, let's finish up this video.
Okay. So when you said in the Bible Belt South, there's something that a woman is expected to be, can you tell me who it is that's expected to be this way? What does woman mean in that sense?
Well, whoever they would consider to be a woman. Which...
Circular. That is circular. What is a woman in this context? Whatever they consider to be a woman. Well, what is that? Is whatever they consider to be. Oh my goodness. It's a circular argument.
Overwhelming would be biologically.
Whoever they would consider to be a woman. And what did woman mean
What
there?
do they consider?
Well, let's check who they would consider to be a woman.
I already said biologically female. You don't need to prompt it. I already said.
Biologically female?
Yes.
He ended up using the professor's own definition of biological human female. Perhaps the scariest part of this whole thing is that he thinks, after all is said and done, that he did just fine.
I don't feel like I came off like weak in that.
He's not bothered about this in the slightest.
Just objective lack of self-awareness there from Vaush. My goodness. But yeah, no, so he that was rough, man. Making a circular argument for what a woman is at the end there, he says, and then he concedes the biological definition, but only in the context of the Bible Belt South.
Great video. Subscribe to Warren.
Yeah, definitely subscribe to Warren. Definitely give that one a like. Great video. My takeaways from this is I don't think Vaush is a very smart guy. I think he's trying too hard to reconcile things that really can't be reconciled, and he's fighting demons, and that demons is objective reality. If you made it this far, consider giving me a like, comment, and maybe subscribe. And if you're a fan of Vaush and you don't like Warren, dislike this video into oblivion. I dare you. Bye-bye.